We are back on Get Up, and I have breaking news, and it is not of the positive variety. This coming from the world of Major League Baseball, where another game today has been canceled, or at least postponed. The Cardinals and the Brewers is the game that's supposed to be played. And our Jeff Passan is reporting the Cardinals have had multiple positive coronavirus tests, this representing baseball's first positive tests outside of the East Coast. And Jeff Passan and Jessica Mendonza are live with me here. And so, Jeff, I will come to you. Jeffrey, I'll come to you first for the very latest. What can you tell us about this that I have not just immediately shared?
Yeah, Greeny, listen, it is not a good situation right now. Major League Baseball had hoped that outside of the Miami Marlins and the Philadelphia Phillies and everything that came from that, they were going to be able to isolate coronavirus positives. Clearly, this is not a disease that is isolated easily. There have been positive tests with the St. Louis Cardinals. The Milwaukee Brewers home opener today against them has been postponed. Presumably, the rest of the games this weekend are going to be postponed as well as they see the fallout from this. And tonight in Major League Baseball, Greeny, a full 20% of the games are not going to be going on. This brings up questions about the viability of the season and about just how much Major League Baseball is willing to stomach in terms of positive tests and keep on going.
We're 1 week and 1 day since they began again, and as you mentioned, 1 out of every 5 games at this point being postponed. Jessica Mendoza, I'm just going to give you the floor here as we watch all of this and try and digest it and figure out what it means. What do you think it means?
At what point are we going to keep doing this and adapting? And I understand with Major League Baseball, they want to do everything they can to be able to continue to play the season. But now you start to look at where the Cardinals just were, because the incubation period to me is what's real. I mean, this is the part we saw with the Phillies, the biggest question marks because of the lack of contact tracing. St. Louis Cardinals were just in Minnesota. So now you start to look at the Twins, and they're going to start to get tested if there's any positive results that come out in the next few days from them. But again, it's waiting and not knowing. The Twins are going to be playing today. This is where it gets scary, because you don't know how, you don't know when, and because of that, you don't know where it's spread to other teams. And that, to me, as we start to see from the Marlins to the Phillies, and now as we look to the Cardinals and who they've played, and positive tests start to come in possibly, then we start to really think about should these teams even be playing?
Jeff, what conversations do you know are taking place, as well as what do you imagine are taking place right now in the offices, the biggest offices of Major League Baseball, as we watch the way this thing has started? I don't know. I don't want to overstate it. It certainly is not going well. What conversations do we know are taking place, and what would we imagine they're talking about?
Well, Greeny, remember on Monday, Major League Baseball had its weekly conference call with owners, and this was during the immediate fallout of the Marlins mess. And they were steadfast. They were resolute in saying, we want to continue the season. And it's clear that MLB is willing to stomach a number of positive tests. But it's interesting that after the Marlins debacle, where they did not shut down, on the same day that they had 3 positive tests in addition to 1 a day previously, that right now, with an unknown number with the St. Louis Cardinals, they are shutting things down. This may be the classic abundance of caution situation, but is there such thing as too much caution right now when it comes to baseball? Because the season is ever seemingly hanging on the precipice. And that is, again, where MLB finds itself now. And Rob Manfred and his lieutenants need to ask themselves the question, is this worth it? Because that is a question, Greeny, being asked around baseball in front offices right now. I just got a text from an executive with one of the teams involved today who said, very simply, what are we doing?
Well, I'd like to put that question to Jessica. Nick, I want to stay here. Nick, my producer, I want to stay on this. Jessica, what are we doing? I mean, at the end of the day, we talked about a bubble. Baseball said they couldn't do a bubble. For whatever reason, they said they couldn't do a bubble. It's no time to be relitigating that now. But the reality is, if you're just going to be flying these guys all over the country, trying to play in all these different places, interacting with as many people as you inevitably will, and living life as you do, the idea that this isn't going to run rampant at some point through every team in the sport is inevitable. So, Jessica, what are we doing?
Well, let's be real, they can do a bubble. They don't want to do a bubble. I think if you look at what took place in mid-June, June 20th, when they decided and we're talking about, and not just one bubble, but if you're going to have the West, you're going to have the Central, you're going to have the East. I remember the conversations were about Arizona, about Texas, about Florida. Again, these are hot spots, so it's not ideal, but look at where the NBA is in Florida. You take those 3 areas and create 3 bubbles for the West, for the Central, and for the East, and now they're not traveling. Those 10 teams in each location are playing each other. So you're not asking 30 teams with 30 players, 30 roster on every single team to go to one spot. You're asking them to go to 3 locations and stay there. That was something that was discussed. It's not something that's impossible. So when we say it can't happen, it absolutely can happen. Does Major League Baseball, do the owners want it to happen? It seems that they absolutely didn't when they made the decision back in June to not go with any type of bubble.
Remind us, Jeff, why didn't they?
It was because nobody really wanted to, Greeny. You know, when I first wrote the story about the bubble, it was early to mid-April or so. The reaction from the players publicly was absolutely not. And this was not all the players. This was a few stars. You know, Mike Trout, for example, who's now on paternity leave, having his first child, did not want to do it. There were a couple of others who came out. But don't just blame this on the players. The teams did not want to do it either. They wanted to play in their home parks. They wanted it to look like a major league product that they were putting on television. And honestly, they could have gone out to Arizona, where, by the way, it was 119 degrees yesterday and 107, I think, at 9 o'clock at night, and played those games there. They could have gone down to Texas. They could have gone to Florida.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.